So, oh, praise. So yeah. Um, next part of Kaye Sarah. So picking up at Genesis 24, and we'll ride it out until 25:18. We'll also hit the Haftarah and the Brit Kadashah today too.
All praises.
So all praises. So as we continue in this part of the parsha, we will see that there are some keys that we can find for ourselves when we look at the life of Sarah. All right, and then mind you, this is what Kaye Sarah means, the life of Sarah. All right, so Genesis 24:1, it says, and Abraham was old, advanced in years, and Yahuwah had blessed Abraham in every way. And Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house, who ruled over all that he had, please put your hand under my thigh so that I make you swear by Yahuwah, the Elohim of the heavens and the Elohim of the earth, that you do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell, but to go to my land and to my relatives and take a wife for my son Isaac. All right, so what is Abraham asking his servant to do and why?
Oh, what is he asking his servant to do?
Yeah, like, and I swear it's not a trick question. Like, what is he like? What is he asking for him to do? And why would he ask this?
To me, I'm not.
And then you probably gonna need the money.
I'm not quite familiar with the customs, like why the hand would go under the thigh, but
I'm gonna avoid that. Yeah, yeah.
to me, it's like the unlatching of a shoe. Whatever the custom is, it's a seal. Whatever the meaning behind the custom, the way I look at it is like, okay, no, you are intimately promising me that you will do this thing. You are, I'm showing you my heart right now, or I'm requiring something of you. I'm showing you I'm pleading to you. Don't do me no harm. You know what I'm saying? So to me, he's just asking him, don't do me wrong in this. I'm showing you my heart. I'm asking this of you. Promise to me that you will do this thing. Yeah.
All praises.
I just said he's asking the servant to procure a wife for his son from his own people, to keep the bloodline pure.
All praises. And side note, if y'all do some looking into that particular what they call a custom here, you're gonna find a whole plethora of possibilities. The reality of it is that without additional witnesses elsewhere, it's gonna be hard to tell, and it can, like, you can throw a dart and hit anything. You know what I mean? Like, so I'm kind of careful with coming to conclusions about it.
Yeah.
But what I will say is it's a whole umbrella of debate surrounded around what's going on here. And what we can say is that it is something that is very significant, and the two of these understand exactly how significant this is, and him saying, okay, so basically, to sum it up, one perspective is, no, he's actually putting his hand under his thigh, and it's basically, with the hand under the thigh, is, okay, you are under me, and now I'm putting you under this oath. Like, you are subjecting yourself under this oath. And it's a whole thing of, now with this kind of like palm open, you on top of that palm, that's one part of it, right? And it's like, okay, fair enough. And people have come to all kinds of other conclusions about, you know, possible custom around that with just putting a hand under the thigh. Then there's another side of it that you'll hear, which I'm not gonna say it is, or I'm not gonna say that it's not, because in all honesty, quite frankly, like I said, I haven't been able to come across any additional, like usually you can look in some Babylonian text or some to say, okay, well, this is actually a custom, and this is probably what was going on here. With this, you can't really say, but some people say that he was actually not touching under his thigh, but something under his groin area, and that this is part of saying no for future covenant. Like, no, I'm asking you to do this. This is important for the procreation of my seed. Like, you are not just making a covenant with me, but you're making a covenant with generations indefinite. And so, like, some people, there's a whole, like, even with the word like testament, that and testament meaning covenant. And so there's a whole thing where people have speculated about it. I'm saying I don't know. And so it's like, maybe not. Which
That's like thyroid with the drinking of it,
there we go.
Thyroid, it's got something to do with.
There we go. So,
but yeah, it's deeper.
So yeah, like just yeah, that word can be used also euphemistically as well. So it can go either way. Like we always say, that's the past. They do things differently there. Like we can't. It's unfair for us to project a certain idea about it today. Just like we know they would greet one another with a brotherly kiss today, because of the culture being that degraded. Yeah, boy. Yeah. What's that episode, that little video of Will Smith out there when the dude walked up to him? But yes, but yeah, like it's a reality because the cultures are different. But in their time, wouldn't think nothing of it. Like that would be the farthest thing from their mind.
And see, that too, to me, just kind of why that's why I kind of just like personally summed it up. Whatever the custom is, all I can pull from it, surface level, is you telling me to come close, come here, come here. Whatever the custom is, and whatever the purpose for the custom, come here, let me talk to you. I'm bearing my heart to you. I'm telling you that this is an important thing to me. Don't show yourself contrary to me in not fulfilling this thing for me. I'm showing you my underbelly right now. And I'm letting you into an intimate part of you. Help me.
Yeah.
In this, I'm making myself vulnerable to you. Help me in this. Otherwise, wouldn't even be this close. If I think he was important enough for the one for the job.
Seems like it was a custom because it paralleled with or related to swearing by Yahuwah. So it's something that needs to be done so it could be understood that it was like a swearing by Yahuwah, like a Yahuwah sees, Yahuwah knows if you mess this up, then that's going to be on, Yahuwah's going to deal with you. I don't have to worry about it.
All praises. So yeah, definitely a lot there. Like I said, I'm a little reluctant to saying, oh, this is what custom it was and this is what they was doing. I'm a little bit reluctant to that. But the essence of it is it's important. This is very important. So keep in mind the title of this parsha is Kaye Sarah, the life of Sarah. He is telling him to find a woman like Sarah for his son. Right? Like, nah, there's a certain kind of woman that I'm looking for my son that I want him to have. And I want him to have a woman that was as told as his mama was. Can't find that here. Right? No, go back to my house and not just to the land of my homeland. Go back to my relatives, my home, to my house. and find somebody that's been raised with these kinds of standards and morals.
Yeah.
Right? That's what he's looking for. So keep in mind, we're talking about the life of Sarah and the death of Sarah, right? Sarah has died, and now this portion is called the life of Sarah. So we're gonna start seeing how there's gonna be a parallel between Rivka and Sarah, and how we seeing that, oh, the life of Sarah is continuing. So, and like we're gonna see this whole thing coming in from like beginning to the end, right? So she has to be like the women from his land, of his house. The qualities that were valued in this woman is what he wants for Isaac, right? So there are certain qualities about Sarah that he desires, he wants for his son. As we will see, this is very wise, as it will be important for the covenant to continue. It also seems apparent that these qualities were not found in the women of Canaan, right? So it's something about how they move in this land that he like, nah.
Cain's wives vexing his parents.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Which we're gonna see in the next generation. And the next, like, we just gonna start seeing how some of the, some stuff gonna start coming up in this next generation, and it's gonna be like an amplification of what we seeing going on in this portion. So yeah, all praises. So Abraham's servant. So Matthew 24:45, just something to consider when we're talking about a servant, right? Because this is Abraham's most trusted servant in his house, right? But we were not given his name in this particular part of the parsha, right?
Right. No, we have not received his name yet.
All praises. So Matthew 24:45, it says, "Who then is a trustworthy and wise servant, whom his master sets over his household to give them food in season?" So this is that kind of servant, right? Abraham is trusting even his son in the hands of his servant. His whole household, his whole everything, he's trusting in the hands of his servant. Blessed is that servant whom his master, having come, shall find so doing. Truly I say to you that he shall set him over all his possessions. But if that evil servant says in his heart, my master is delaying his coming, and begins to beat his fellow servants, and to drink and to eat and to drink with the drunkards, the master of that servant shall come on a day when he does not expect it, and at an hour he does not know, and shall cut him in two, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Right. So you don't want to be the latter servant. You want to be the servant that actually is trusted with everything in the house. So this speaks to this particular servant's character, right? Notice that he's making a covenant with this servant. We know that this is not one of his sons, but he's making this covenant before Yahuwah Elohim, and he's binding him to an oath with Yahuwah. So that must mean what? Yahuwah must mean something to the servant as well. Otherwise, this don't mean nothing. Right? He gonna treat Yahuwah's name as nothing and do what he want to do. So there's a whole lot going on with the character of this servant, right? So Genesis 24:5, it says, "And the servant said to him, what if the woman refuses to follow me to this land? Do I then take your son back to the land from which you came? And Abraham said to him, beware, lest you take my son back there. Yahuwah, Elohim of the heavens, who took me from my father's house," major key, "and from the land of my relatives, and who spoke to me and swore to me, saying, to your seed I give this land. He sends his messenger before you, and you shall take a wife for my son from there. And if the woman refuses to follow you, then you shall be released from this oath. Only do not take my son back there." So notice what the father asked. Also, notice what the servant asked. Also notice Abraham's answer. Notice how for him, this is very important, and the whole covenant rests on getting this right. We will also see later why, as a father, Abraham worries that if his son goes back to the land, he may not fulfill the covenant. Whatever is done, one thing is certain: Isaac must not go back there. Okay, so it's something that he's seeing in his son that is like, no, whatever you do, don't take him back there. If you can't find a woman, I'm trusting this in you. If you can't find a woman, then yeah, just come back and you release from this oath, right?
That's deep, because I had previously wondered, why didn't he just send Isaac?
Also, keep in mind that Isaac is in a particular headspace because he's mourning and grieving the loss of his mother. So all of this was playing a part in what's going on. Yeah, he's in a certain kind of headspace where
Anything to do right now.
that part.
Long as it's filling that void and that gap.
Yeah.
He just lost the woman of his life, which is his mother. That's the first one.
Yeah.
I just lost my mom, you know. And somebody gonna see you got a little bit of money, so everybody gonna be excuse me, sniffing around the trailer. And he liable. So you know what? That's deep. That's deep, because his father's like, no, I need to protect him right now, and I'm sending you because I know that you can do it. You can help me protect him, because he's going to be looking for one thing, just somebody to fill the void. You, on the other hand, yeah, you look for these qualities. You're in a different headspace than, yeah.
Or also the fact that he may not even be considering a woman right now. You know, he like, the father's like, well, I know what's good for him. Let me go ahead and try to see if that will, help. And we see that it did. But yeah, sometimes it could be, well, you know what? He's not worried about it right now, but I know that he needs to find a woman. So let me go ahead and help him out.
All praises.
I was just gonna say too, how, just thinking the behavior of our folks sometimes. When you in a place of grieving, sometimes you really just don't care. And maybe it's not, and it's all just speculation, but for me, it's interesting to think about, maybe it might not be, okay, you get the wrong one woman. Maybe you just like, you know what? I want them all, and he's kind of trying to like, that ain't right either. No, I'm gonna get you together. Quick, fast, and in a hurry.
All praises. So it says, notice also we getting a key on more qualities of this woman, right? So there's something about her that she's gonna be willing to do that Abraham himself and Sarah herself was willing to do. We're gonna keep seeing all of these parallels between this next generation and the generation that came before. So notice how important of a task this is. The servant must find a woman that is willing to follow the servant to her ease. I'm gonna say that again. The servant must find a woman that is willing to follow the servant to her ease. Notice what Abraham said in verse 7. He was called to leave his father's house. And now we see this as something that will serve as a test for the bride that is worthy for his son and the passing on of the covenant. Keep this in mind, or keep in mind, this is what Sarah did as she followed Abraham. So again, he's looking for a particular type of woman, right, for his son. We even know, like in Deuteronomy 22, I didn't put this in the lesson, but like in Deuteronomy 22, 22, about when they would go out to other lands, right? You go to another land and you find an Isha in that land. Yeah, after war, do all of that stuff, right? Let her mourn. She got these 30 days or whatever the case. And after that, but if you don't see that she's taking on to the covenant of how we do things over here, then nah, put her away, right? So no, there's a certain standard that he's looking to see. Is she willing to turn away from the house of her fathers and her mothers? Is she willing to leave that to walk new with her new master without even having seen him? All praises. All praises. So Abraham's servant, with a little bit of referencing, we see that Abraham's most trusted servant was a man named Eliezer, right? We saw this in, okay, thank you. Told out for that. Deuteronomy 21 was what I was talking about, not 22. Told out for that. So Genesis 24:2, and Abraham said to the oldest servant of his house who ruled over all that he had, please put your hand under my thigh, right? So jumping down to Genesis 15, and I think that this is one of those things that is like, ding, 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 great mystery. He that has eyes to see it, right? Like, no, the Torah specifically is not given his name because there's a message hidden within this whole thing. That's like, if you can see it, then you'll see it. So Genesis 15:1. After these events, the word of Yahuwah came to Abram in a vision, saying, do not be afraid, Abram, I am your shield. Your reward is exceedingly great. And Abram said, Master Yahuwah, what would you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? And Abram said, see, you have given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahuwah came to him, saying, this one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. So we can see that the most trusted servant that he had was Eliezer of Damascus, right? So what does Eliezer's name mean, right? Now we will see how this story is prophetically telling us what is expected of us, right? As well as what Sarah possessed that made her a wealthy or worthy Ishai and a suitable for the covenant, right? So Eliezer, it means Elohim is my help, right? Literally is these two words put together. And the root basically of the word for help, we know Elohim is H5826, Azar, which means to surround, that is to protect or aid, to help, to succor, right? That's what his name means, right? Literally, he is, and you look at his function, he is a helper to Abraham, right? So could we be seeing a prophetic picture here of something greater that is to come, right? As we continue, we will see how Abraham's servant has a desire to serve his master. He treats Abraham's will and desire as his own. It is for this reason that he is trusted with this task more than anyone else, even his son himself. You will see how he and the father-son have a beautiful relationship with one another. Instead of competing and fighting with one another for the father or master's attention, you will see how they not only work together, but rely on one another to fulfill the father/master's will. So we saw in the last slide what Eliezer's name means. And just throwing a question out there for those that might not necessarily be familiar with that particular term, what does it mean to succor or succor? It's just another word for saying assistance or support in times of hardship or distress, right? And again, keep in mind the state of everyone here in this particular story. That's exactly what they're in. So he's going to be very important on making sure that things get taken care of. To give assistance or aid to, right? So the question is just, is there anyone else that we saw referred to as a helper in the scriptures or in the writing? Right? So we know that that's literally what the Ruach is, right? John 14:15. If you love me, you shall guard my commandments, and I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper to stay with you forever, the Spirit of truth, whom the world is unable to receive because it does not see him or know him. But you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. I shall not leave you orphans. I am coming to you. Yet a little while, and the world no longer sees me, but you shall see me because I live, and you shall live. And that day you shall know that I am in my Father, and you in me, and I in you. He who possesses my commands and guards them, it is he who loves me. And he who loves me shall be loved by my Father, and I shall love him and manifest myself to him. So again, we seeing perhaps a parallel between the role of Eliezer and the role of the Ruach. Then now we starting to see maybe a parallel between Isaac and the Son, the only begotten, as we saw in the previous Torah portion, right? And something with the Father and Abiyah. Something about this bride and us. All praises. So we see this relationship in full effect in Matthew chapter 4, where the Father's helper, the Ruach, gives the Son, or the Father's helper, like for example, the Ruach, guides the Son and strengthens the Son, Mashiach, so that they both do the will of the Father, the one who sent them both, right? So we see the dynamic of how the Son and the helper works, right? Matthew 4:1, then Yahushua was led up by the Ruach, or by the Spirit, into the wilderness to be tried by Hashatan, by the devil. And after having fasted 40 days and 40 nights, he was hungry. So these two work together to carry out the Father's will. And furthermore, as we will see, one of the helper's roles will be to prepare the bride for the bridegroom, right? So John 15:26, and when the helper comes, whom I shall send to you from the Father, the Spirit of truth, who comes from the Father, he shall bear witness of me. So he's going to tell the bride about and bear witness to the bride, right? Of the bridegroom. He's going to bear witness of me. So there's something that the Ruach will tell the bride about the bridegroom in preparation for the bridegroom. Notice the helper subordinates and will to serve the Father. So there's a lot of mystery that be around how the Ruach moves, right? And a lot of folk say that this is the Ruach, that was the Ruach, and it'd be like, Father ain't said nothing like that. Like, you're never gonna find where the Son is telling you to do anything against what the Father is saying. You're never gonna find where the Ruach is telling you to do anything against what the Father is saying. Never gonna see that. Like, never gonna see that. So notice that this was a time of hardship or distress for Mashiach Yahusha. In other words, on his own strength, especially having been weakened by his circumstances, i.e., he fasted for 40 days and 40 nights, he may not have been able to perform the task on his own strength. Right? Hashatan is not just presenting something frivolous before him. No, this is everything that I have ever hoped for and wanted. So the Ruach is with him, basically ministering along the way. Notice he was led by the Ruach. It's right there with him. So again, just keep noticing these parallels between how this relationship is working between Eliezer, the Son, and the Father. Okay, so the Son. So far in the Torah portions we've done already, we saw clear connections between Abraham's role and the Heavenly Father. As we continue, we will start to draw more connections, and we will see how the story of the Torah contains prophetic pictures. We will see that everything in the lives of the patriarchs points to Elohim's plan for the salvation of man, and we will see what our role is in this plan. So John chapter 8:48. So we just got done seeing how Eliezer treats the Father's will as his own, right? This is just as serious to the servant or to the helper as it is to Abraham. John 8:48. The Yahudim answered and said to him, do we not say, well, that you are a Sumerian and have a demon? And Yahushua answered, I do not have a demon, but I value my father. So now we learning about the character of the son, right? We saw the servant values the father. Now we seeing that the son values the father. And you do not value me, and I do not seek my own esteem. There is one who is seeking and is judging. Truly, truly, I say to you, if anyone guards my word, he shall never see death at all. The Yahudim said to him, now we know that you have a demon. Abraham died, and the prophets, and you say, if anyone guards my word, he shall never taste death at all. Are you greater than our father Abraham, who died, and the prophets died? Whom do you make yourself? Yahushua answered, if I esteem myself, my esteem is none at all. It is my Father who esteems me. So now we seeing how the Father feels about the Son, right? Of whom you say that he is your Elohim. And you have not known him, but I know him. And if I say I do not know him, I shall be like you, a liar, straight like that. But I do know him, and I guard his word. Your father Abraham was glad that he should see my day. This is what Abraham, this right here is what he hoped. And why everything in this parsha, this is why he's done everything that he's done up to this point, why he's doing what he's doing right now. Get me that cave. In Sarah's death, this is the life of Sarah, because it's something more than this. And this is what I'm looking to. Abraham was glad to see this day. And he saw it and did rejoice. He did see it and he did rejoice. The Yahudim therefore said to him, you are not yet 50 years old. And have you seen Abraham? Yahushua said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, before Abraham came to be, I am. Very interesting. John chapter 5:43. Now, mind you, what did Abraham just say? He said, when Eliezer was asking him, he said, well, what if the woman doesn't want to go with me? He said, the Elohim that promised all of this to me, that called me out of my father's house, nah, he's going to send his messenger before you. What is Abraham talking about? He's going to send his messenger before you. And he will, don't worry, you're going to find a wife. So when he said, I'll leave that there because that's a whole nother conversation. But nah, he very much so. He saw that day. I just put it that way. So he says, I have come in my father's name and you do not receive me. If another comes in his own name, him you will receive. How are you able to believe when you are receiving esteem from one another, and the esteem that is from the only Elohim you do not seek? Do not think that I shall accuse you to the Father. There is one who accuses you, Moses, in whom you have set your expectation. For if you believed Moses, you would have believed me, since he wrote about me. But if you do not believe his writings, how shall you believe my words? So now, what books? I'm getting ahead of myself. What did Moses write?
It's credited to him, Torah. Bereshit, yeah. Bereshit.
First 5, and in addition, if you want to do that, you can throw in Jubilee.
First 5 books, so Bereshit, Shemot, Vayikra, Bamidbar, Devarim.
Genesis through Deuteronomy, all praises. So he's saying that he should be able to be seen in Genesis to Deuteronomy. So all praises.
It just came to my mind, like, yeah, absolutely, the Pentateuch and Jubilees, and then even more specifically in there, he said, the Most High will raise up one amongst you of your brethren that will, and you need to hear him. That will lead you, and you need to hear him. So
all praises. All praises. So notice again the son's subordinates and will to serve the father. This is how the son and the helper work together for the building of the house. This is what is the most important goal, right? Is building up the father's house and building a functioning house. So some pictographic revelation. So here's our pictographic for the word father. Ab, we know it's the picture of the ox head in the 10th floor plan, right? Picture of a house. So it's an ox, which represents strength. And then we got a picture of a house that represents a family. So literally we know that the father is the strength of the house, right? He's the strength of the family, right? Then we got the son, the bane, the bet noon, right? Same picture of a house representing the family. And then we got picture of a noon, the seed, right? Picture of a seed, and it represents life. So a son is literally the life of the house, the life of the family, right? He progresses this family name. Then we got the word for servant, Evet, which is ayin, bet, dalit, right? Ayin is a picture of an eye, represents sight. Bet is a picture of the house again, represents the family. And then we got the dalit, which is a picture of a door, right? Which represents the entrance. So literally a servant, a tobe servant is doing what? He's keeping his eye on the door of the house. He watched this door. He guarded this door. A good servant is guarding this door. Ain't nothing coming up in here that don't supposed to come up in here. Ain't nothing leaving up out of here that ain't supposed to leave up out of here. That's what a tobe servant does. Now, a wicked servant, that's a whole nother thing, right? He'd be the setup man. I know the ins and outs, right? Inside job. But a tobe servant keeps his eye on the door of the house. He's going to guard and protect the house, right? So everything, notice, and every one of these, the bet is there, the house is there, the family is there. All of this is all centered around building a house, a functioning household. So keep this in mind when we look at John 14 through 15 and what is being expressed there. It is an allusion to Hebraic marriage custom, where a place is prepared for a bride. The son would go with the father to prepare the place. The picture here is that when the son leaves, the helper then stays with the bride to prepare her for the bridegroom's return, right? So John 14, verse 1, let not your heart be troubled. Believe in Elohim, believe also in me. In my father's house are many stand places, many mansions. And if not, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I shall come again and receive you to myself, that where I am, you might be too. And where I go, you know, and the way you know. And Thomas, or Thomas, said to him, Master, we do not know where you are going. And how are we able to know the way? Yahushua said to him, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. So is he a door? And is this what the servant is keeping his eye on? Making sure, just like Eliezer, I'm going to watch over your son. That's what he's asking. That's what Abraham is asking. I'm about to go. And I can't keep my eyes on him. I'm trusting you. Watch him and make sure that he all right. Right? I'm trusting all I got in your hands. Make sure he's still learning now. He got the potential, but he also got the potential to mess it up. You know how I move. You know how I operate. You understood everything that I've done. I've trusted everything in your hands for this moment. Take care of him. If you love me, you shall guard my commands. And I shall ask the Father, and he shall give you another helper to stay with you forever. The Spirit of truth, whom the world is unable to receive because it does not see him or know him. But you know him, for he stays with you and shall be in you. So we see this further expressed in Acts chapters 1 through 2, right? This event he was talking about, it actually comes to pass in Acts chapter 1, verse 2, or Acts chapter 1 and chapter 2. So Acts chapter 1 and 1 verse 1. It says, the first account I made, O Theophilus, of all that Yahushua began to do and to teach until the day when he was taken up, after giving instructions through the set apart spirit to the emissaries whom he had chosen. So just in parentheses, notice here the bridegroom leaves. But he left the bride, Israel, with the helper to prepare her for the return of the bridegroom, right? To whom he also presented himself alive after his suffering by many infallible proofs, being seen by them for 40 days, speaking concerning the kingdom of Elohim. And meeting with them, he commanded them not to leave Jerusalem, but to wait for the promise of the Father, which you have heard from me, because Yehukanan or Yochanan truly immersed in water, but you shall be immersed in the set apart spirit, not many days from now. So when they had come together, they asked him, saying, Master, would you at this time restore the kingdom to Israel? Restoration of the bride. You should see Jeremiah chapter 3 and why the bride done fell off, right? And he said to them, it is not for you to know the times or seasons which the Father has put in his own authority. Interesting, because we also know that this is not the first time he's been asked this. It's not the first time that he gave this answer. And he even said himself, I'm the son and I don't even know. Did Isaac know? Or is this all just Abraham's doing and saying, no, get the bride, do this, that, and the third. I know the hour, but you're not going to find no problem later on because everybody know what's going on with this house. It's for the tobe of everyone, right? He says, but you shall receive power when the set apart spirit has come upon you, and you shall be my witnesses in Jerusalem and in all Yehuda and Samaria or Shomron and to the end of the earth. So the helper, giving the bride power and authority that she may be prepared to rule next to her Ish. And having said this, while they were looking on, he was taken up, and a cloud hid him from their sight. And as they were gazing into the Shamayim or the heavens, as he went up, see, two men stood by them dressed in white, leaving to prepare the place. The bridegroom left to go prepare the place, like he said. Who also said, men of Galilee, why do you stand looking up into Shamayim or into the heavens, the sky? This same Yahushua who was taken up from you into Shamayim shall come in the same way as you saw him go into Shamayim. The bridegroom is going to return for his bride. So now, in the meantime, we with the helper getting prepared. Get yourself right. Right? All praises. So keep in mind Eliezer's role and function between Abraham, Isaac, and Rivkah as we continue in our parsha. Remember, we saw in prophecy how the helper, Eliezer, was sent by the father, Abraham, to select the bride, Rivkah, for his son, Isaac. The bride had to meet certain standards for her to be a worthy fit for the covenant with Elohim. Again, it should tell us something about ourselves. So could it be that Abraham's servant, Eliezer, can be likened to the Ruach prophetically? When we look at it this way, we will see why this parsha focuses on the life of Sarah. Like we saw last week, this parsha ironically focuses on the life of Sarah in her death. Could this be a clue for us to look deeper than just her physical life, but perhaps beyond it? What about Sarah's life are we to understand today? When we focus on the parsha thematically, we see the story as follows. Abraham equals Abihu, the king. Isaac equals Mashiach Yahusha, uniquely begotten son, the prince, the next to heir, right? Eliezer, the helper of the father, the Ruach. And also just keep in mind how the nation was set up. What role and function does the priest have? Right? So the high priest, those that help the king rule and often guide the next to heir when he comes into office. We saw many a times throughout in the book of Kings where the next son comes up after the father has passed on and the next king comes up. And when the next king comes up, what happens? As long as that priest was alive, king was right there spot on. But then once that priest passed on, you notice that I think it was was it Asa? Like you notice with him, he fell off a little bit. Like he started tripping and wilding once because that priest was there directing and guiding him in the ways of righteousness. And without that guidance, excellent. That's an even better example. All praises.
We saw it with Saul and Shemuel. After Shemuel passed on, Saul was here and there losing his mind. I ain't get no answer from the Most High. I ain't, help. And not only was Shemuel a seer, as they called him, but he was under the priest, loaned by his mother to the priests for, the use of the Most High. So all
praises. So they would often guide the next to heir when he comes into office, and they were servants to the Most High King, right? So consider how the priest prepares the people to go before the Father. They were a physical manifestation of the role of the Ruach. Also, keep in mind the standard the priests were held to in marriage, right? So notice there's a certain kind of bride that the priests understand. This is what we look for. This is what is appropriate for us, right? And we're going to see that Eliezer is looking for the same thing for Abraham's son, right? And then you got Sarah and Rivka. They both equal the faithful bride, or Isha, the assembly, a set-apart nation of Israel, right? This is how all of this is supposed to work spiritually, and we're seeing it actually played out with the forefathers. All praises. So as we continue, we will see how all of this parallels, and the Torah has been proclaiming this story of prophecy to us even since the beginning. By analyzing the characteristics of each person in this story, we will learn a great deal of wisdom about the character of each of their spiritual parallels, right? So by looking at how Sarah and Rivka move, we learn how us as set apart Israel, as the bride, how we ought to operate. What is going to qualify us as worthy, right? And not just like the women of the land of Canaan, right? It's going to show us how the Father operates. Show us how the Ruach, the helper, operates. Show us how the Son operates. Let's see all of these parallels, right? Praises.
And then subsequently will also show us how they don't operate. As you alluded to in the beginning. Lots of people want to say, oh, this is the spirit, that is the spirit, but don't have nothing to do with what the actual spirit or characteristics of the actual set apart Ruach of Elohim Yahuwah. So it might be a spirit, but the one that matters, no. Debatable. Questionable. Highly questionable.
All praises.
It's interesting also that it seems like you know how when Yahuwah was talking to Moshe about do exactly what I want you to do when he was building the tabernacle and the temple, it's almost like righteous mishpachah households resemble how Yahuwah operates in his kingdom. It is literally like a mirror picture of it. So this is why it's important to make sure that the I would just go to household, the Isha, the children, Yodim, and back then servants or whoever the assembly are doing their roles properly, because you're basically a resemblance of the kingdom of Elohim, even within on the earth, in preparation for what's to come. So yeah.
Definitely. All praises. Don't want to be like what we saw in the wilderness with Korah and all of them. Like, is y'all the Levites, y'all the helping hand? Is this not enough? Right? But if you want to be quote unquote a son, the helper ain't gonna be able to help nothing. Right? It's just something to think about. All praises. So Genesis 24, verse 9, it says, then the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham, his master, and swore to him concerning this matter. And the servant took 10 of his master's camels and left, for all his master's goods were in his hand. And he arose and went to Aram Naharaim, to the city of Nahor. And then just keep in mind what we looked at earlier in Matthew 24, 45 through 51. He'll leave all that he has in the hand of a told servant, right? And we see this actually happening here with Eliezer.
He'll be absolutely wrong. But it's interesting to think about the whole thigh under the hand situation. Like you were spoken to earlier, it's like, yeah, the servant is submitting himself, to that master. But after looking at it and thinking about it more in depth, it makes me think that it's more about that master submitting himself to the servant. Because when you think about putting thighs under your hands, pick me up. At least that's what literally just came to my mind. Listen, pick me up and carry me, because I can't go any further. I'm depending on you in this thing, So like I said, it could be right, could be wrong.
I don't think it's far off though. Like, I think that's the essence of it, is like, everything I got, I'm putting it in your hands.
Yeah.
Like,
including myself.
Yeah. All that I am, I'm trusting you.
Yeah.
Hold me down. All praises. All praises. So he says, and he made his camels kneel down outside the city by a fountain of water at evening time, the time when women go out to draw water. And he said, Yahuwah, Elohim of my master Abraham, please cause her to meet before me this day, and show loving commitment to my master Abraham. See, I am standing here by the fountain of water, and the daughters of the city and the daughters of the men of the city are coming out to draw water. Now, let it be that the young woman to whom I say, please let down your jar to let me drink. And she says, you drink, and let me drink, and let me water your camels too. Let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. And let me know by this that you have shown loving commitment to my master. And it came to be, before he had ended speaking, that see, Ribkah, whom was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, came out with her jar on her shoulder. And the young woman was very good looking, and a maiden, no man having known her. And she went down to the fountain, filled her jar, and came up. Now, keep in mind that she is drawing water at the well, right? A parallel to John chapter 4, again showing us about the Ruach, the Son, the Father, and the filling of the vessels. Keep in mind, this woman was likened to the path Israel chose, speaking of the woman at the well in John chapter 4. One having known many husbands, but suitable for restoration, right? In this case, this is being emphasized that this is a woman who have not known a man, right? And we know that this is important, again, looking at the qualifications of the priest, looking at, like, spiritually, what is it saying? You don't belong to another, right? I know, no, you don't belong to another, you belong to me. There ain't gonna be no, oh, I found out what you doing laying with my wife. Ain't gonna be no adulteress, Isha. This is one that's solely committed to her prospective Ish, right? again, spiritually, we're looking at how this supposed to work for us. We supposed to be in fidelity to our bridegroom. That's it. Ain't no, yeah, I'm with you, but when I ain't with you, I'm over here with him, with Baal. Yeah. The kind, right? The adulterous woman from Proverbs. You know, she's gone away on a long journey. I just got done offering my sacrifices, right?
And when you compare it to, again, like you said, the woman at the well, who I know many husbands was still suitable for restoration and salvation, like it literally, to me, is speaking to Israel in the various stages. Literally, Israel wasn't born yet, so in the infancy stages of the nation, no, you belong to one, and even after, have a leopard change his spots, have a people change their LOI, you still belong to, even though you've had many husbands, you still belong only to one.
Yeah, no business being out there with them. Now you see how they undid you.
Yep. Return to your first love.
All praises. Seeing again. It's always amazing to me seeing how literally these stories in Torah have so many nuggets of wisdom and us understanding prophecy, us understanding where we spoke. Like, these are weightier things. Like, when we really thinking about it, like he said, it's the honor of kings to, like, right? That's what we doing. All praises.
Absolutely Tove, search and Ak, because you don't get all of this from just surface level reading. You absolutely don't. And this is definitely, I mean, it's evident of the Father. Like, he's speaking to his people, but only the diligent are finding that out and sharing. So very Tove, search and Ak, and thank you for allowing us to,
all praises.
What is it partake of it with, because this is meat.
Yeah, all praises. What is it saying? Sirach, a wise man hears wisdom and adds unto it. That's all it is. I done heard wisdom and just trying to add unto it. So yeah, all praises. All praises. So again, notice the will and desire of the servant. His desire is the desire of his master. In this, he does not lean on his own understanding, but he leaves the choosing of the bride to his master's master. This is a manifestation of Proverbs 3, right? We said this almost every week. It seems like lean not to your own understanding, trust in Yahuwah, he'll direct your path, right? Acknowledge him in all your ways. Like, we went over this many a times, but this is literally a manifestation of that. He's walking it out. So here's some things to consider. One, the helper does the will of the one who sent him, right? So again, when we parallel this to the Ruach, that Ruach is going to do the will of the one that sent it. Tob or Ra, right? If it's of the Father, it's going to do the will of the Father. Enough said. The sign of the worthy bride, one suitable for the son, was hospitality. Keep in mind the previous parsha, where we looked at the significance of hospitality. So it's something about this hospitality thing and this selflessness that qualifies the bride as being worthy for the bridegroom. The bride was found attractive, a maiden not having known a man, important because in this she does not belong to another, like we were just explaining. The son can trust the father and the helper to determine the suitable bride for him, right? So Isaac not worried about nothing. Trust me, he don't need know this is going on, but he don't need to know this is going on because he ain't worried about nothing, right? All right, so 10 camels, right? So H1581, a gamal, it's a camel, right? In the sense of labor or bearing burden or burden bearing, right? So literally we know that nouns in Hebrew, they come from verbs. It's an action. that we can see, no, this is an action that the camel performs, and this is the reason why it's called a camel or a gamal, right? Sense of labor and or bearing burdens. From H1580, same word, gamal, to treat a person well or ill, right? But it's how you treat a person. This is what a camel is, the essence of what it is. You don't treat it how a person is treated. To treat a person, that is to benefit or requite by implication of toil to ripen. We're gonna get to it. That is specifically to wean, bestow on, to deal bountifully, to do toll or do good, recompense, requite, reward, to ripen, to serve, to wean, to yield, right? So can we see a parallel between Rivka and the camels that she's watering? Notice how being weaned, coming off of milk and moving to solid foods, is likened to ripening. So we know that that's what we are called to do as the bride, to do what? We supposed to at some point come up off the milk and move on to the solids, right? To be drawn from the breast, to be weaned, right? That's what he's calling us to do, so that it's not his desire that we should remain babes. That's not what. All praises. Now, that's not to down a babe. That has its importance as well, right? And as a babe, get as much milk as you can get, because that's what you need. But at some point, it's supposed to be a progression that takes place. You're supposed to ripen, right? You're supposed to start to bring forth some mature fruit, right? All praises. So both are referring to the process of maturation, ripening, and treating a person well and weaning. All of these are all talking about a process of maturation. So notice how Rivka's act of watering the camels and her acts of hospitality may indicate something about her character. Could we be clued into what spiritual maturity looks like? This is what the mature fruit of the Ruach looks like, right? Actually acting out and performing the essence of Torah. She's bringing forth some mature fruit right now. And this is like when he specifically prayed and asked for this to be the sign for the woman, knowing how this ain't no small task. Like, no, it's something about her character that I'm trying to find out. So let the woman who does this, this wasn't just he could have ran across a million women and maybe he only found the one to do this, right?
This is why it's important to be a doer of the word. You know what I mean? As well, because it's like you can read all you want scripture, but if you're not having application, you're not applying what you're reading, then it's like vanity almost. What's the purpose behind it? So that's what the Father was looking at. Like, I mean, I'm sure he's impressed, who's to say about how many scriptures but what he's looking at mainly is, okay, are you actually doing what I'm telling you to do? That's in my word. So yeah, application. It makes me think about that.
Won't be the hearers, but the doers of the work that will be justified. All praises.
All praises to the Most High. And it just is beautiful how it works out, because I can see the littles over there looking, because as soon as you said Azar or Ezer, that was what our Sabbath study lesson was on today.
All praises.
Literally. We can't even. Okay, put it over there. Thank you. Like, we literally were talking about that today in the Sabbath study lesson. You can't make this stuff up, but you can't work it. And so when we were talking about Ezer, we were talking about being helpful and being a told help, and virtues or virtuous virtues is what we've started dealing with in our Sabbath study, the Sabbath school for the children. Virtues being those things that are told behaviors that we should start embodying, the things that are right and wrong. And it just makes me think immediately, like it says here, the hospitality, the maturity, you know, just her having that mindset of, you know, maybe she didn't know necessarily, oh no, I gotta, because he looking for, no, she didn't know what he was looking for. She could just literally seen, you know what, this man asking me for water. He ain't got nothing to draw with. He probably came from a long trip. Let me just go ahead and make sure it's been taken care of. We see somebody struggling. We see somebody in a hard way, because that's literally what Ezer is. Help is to be a succor or to be of assistance during hard times. We see somebody in a hard way. She like, I'm pretty sure she see that this man came from a long trip. If nothing else, you can see that he didn't came from a long trip. I don't know how much further you got to go. Let me at least make sure, you know what I'm saying, do what I can. It might even be just a little bit, but let me do what I can.
All praises. All praises. So just ask the question, where else did we see this word used? The word Gamal, we saw it in Genesis 21:8. And the child grew and was weaned. And Abraham made a great feast the same day that Isaac was weaned. So we starting to see something that's going on here. It's all gonna come back around, right? But each camel roughly can drink 30 to 40 gallons per sitting, right? Like if a camel is really thirsty, they can drink 30 or 40 gallons at a time. He got 10. He got 10. Like this wasn't no small task. Like she drawing. So I got a little video, just some little, background about camels. Something to think about. I first watched it with subtitles. Just to, I just want us to get the visual. All right, so that's that. But yeah, I thought it was interesting. It's kind of hard to understand what he was saying, but in essence, he was just breaking down how they can drink X amount. He said he put it in liters. I forget the number of liters that he said, but it roughly comes out to be about, anywhere between 30, 40 gallons at a time, each camel. Something about how their blood cells are oval in shape, and it is what allows them to be able to consume that much water at a time and process it without, like other mammals, like, if we drink too much water, X amount percentage of our body mass or whatever at a time, like you go into shock, like your body is, and it can kill you, but their bloodstream is able to absorb the water in a different type of way that allows them to be able to consume these large amounts at a time, and then they can go 10 days without drinking no water at all once they get filled up. So that's basically some of the information that he was going over, but I just wanted to give a visual of what it is that she's actually being asked to do. This ain't no small task. Like, we talk about 300, 400 gallons of water that she got to draw. And if she drawing it from a well, like, nah, she's laboring again, in the sense of labor or burden bearing. She's carrying the burden and bearing the burden for this man and his camels. This is something about one of those things that is a top quality in the people that are called by the Father's name. So just something to consider. All right, so suitable bride, Genesis 24:17. And the servant ran to meet her and said, please let me drink a little water from your jar. Right. So that word for to meet is kira, which is an encountering, accidental, or friendly, or hostile. From H7121, kara, which just means to call out. So he literally is calling out to this woman, hey, young lady, help me out. Right. And she said, drink, my master. And she hurried and let her jar down to her hand and gave him a drink. Now, I just wonder if we ever heard anything about the Ruach or anything like that, calling out to the bride, if you will, and those that actually listen and actually turn from what they're doing to follow, get led right on to the bridegroom. They walk right on into the wedding feast. But some don't answer the call. So again, we seeing all these parallels and these patterns of Rivka, what she's doing, like how many will hear him calling out and don't even turn to hear what he's saying, right? Not only is she gonna hear him, but she gonna take care of him. Speaks of her character. And when she had finished giving him a drink, she said, let me draw water for your camels too, until they had finished drinking. So he didn't ask her to do this, right? Although he already knew that this was the test that he was looking for with the Father, he didn't ask her to do this. She chose to do this, right? And she hurried and emptied her jar into the trough, ran back to the fountain to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And watching her, the man remained silent in order to know whether Yahuwah had prospered his way or not. So now, again, the reason why I wanted to show that video is if we can just get a context of what's going on. She's literally drawing this water, running back and forth, back and forth. And while she's doing it, it's 300 gallons, mind you, back and forth, back and forth. He's seeing how hard she's working, back and forth, back and forth. And he's just sitting there quietly, astonished, in silence. Wow. Right? So, and it's saying that she ran and she's hurrying. She not just dragging around and just like, nah, she's treating this of utmost, like its utmost value and importance. And she was just going to the well to get a drink for whatever it was that she needed. She didn't come here for all of that. Right? Mm-hmm. And mind you, it's getting late. Like it's the evening. So notice the servant's wisdom. He chooses to observe her while she carries out what she set out to do, waiting for Elohim to confirm what he thinks he is seeing in her. Remember, we established last week that a main theme of this parsha is waiting for Elohim's confirmation. We saw this last week on Abraham's portion of Machpelah. So notice the faith of Eliezer the servant. He is sent and he is not doing his own will, but he is operating on one accord with his master, the one that sent him. His desire is the same of the one that sent him. This is very important because the set apart spirit, the helper sent by the Father to us, works the same way. And then just again, keeping in mind, like the Ruach moves the same way with us. It's going to sit and observe, right? It's going to try you. It's going to, okay, well, let's see. Okay. What does it say about the Ruach of wisdom in Sirach? It said, oh, no, I walk with you through crooked paths. And now I'm not just quick to, I ain't just quick to just pour it out on you like that. No, let's see. Is this a worthy vessel or not?
And too, I was thinking about it. Oh, it's not no spring chicken no more either.
All praises. All praises.
Her willingness to help that man. I see you. Help you however I can. Man, but you the elder, because I'm thinking even too, she called him my master. That man from a man on the
Certainly.
See you somebody's granddad by now.
Yeah, because you got to figure that conversation is before Isaac was even born. When he's saying Eliezer of Damascus is the only heir I got. No, this is before Isaac was even born.
Yep.
So absolutely. Also part of the reason why Isaac is like, you big unk.
Yep.
Right? Like he can trust him in his hands. All praises. So the life of Sarai. So Genesis 24:22, and it came to be when the camels had finished drinking that the man took a golden nose ring weighing half a shekel and 2 bracelets for her wrists weighing 10 shekels of gold. These is 10 shekels. That's not light. I'm just put it like this is these bracelets got some weight to them. Like we got to think Jeremiah bought the field for 17 shekels of silver. She wearing 10 shekels just on her wrist. She dripped out. Like, So, and said, whose daughter are you? Please inform me. Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? So notice the servant's reaction. And what does he really ask? Who your people, and are they like you? Is there room in your father's house for us to spend the night? Like, I see you doing this, but if she's like, well, nah, Pops, nah, he don't, right? So he's looking at, not only do I see you, but where you come from. So notice the servant's reaction. He is waiting to respond to and trying to discern whether or not this is Yahuwah's doing. He wants to see if this is the bride that he prayed for to Yahuwah. He wants it to be, but he is not going to act until he knows for sure, right? So now at this point, he done draped her out. He knows for sure that, oh no, this is something here, right? But now we're going to see how it continues, right? So just a sidebar, how many times have we walked into a situation that looked told at the start, but because we didn't wait on Yahuwah, we later see that this was not the plan that Yahuwah intended for us. Keep in mind how Abraham got Ishmael. When we wait and observe the situation first, we allow Yahuwah to show us without doubt if it is something that is according to his plan or not. So this is what we see in that how Eliezer is moving, or his servant is moving. So notice that after the woman finished working, she was given reward, right? This didn't come before, this came after. She wasn't looking for it. So look at how he waited on her to finish watering all of the camels. When it comes to Yahuwah, everything must come to pass in order for his name to be on it. If she would have gave water to the camels, this would, well, if she wouldn't have given water to the camels, this would not have been the right one. If we recall, his prayer was very specific. Are we starting to see how this Parsha is very well connected to the life of Sarah? Here we are seeing her legacy as a woman worthy of the covenant now being passed on to Rivka, one of her own house. In this, the covenant can now be passed on in Tob hands or in good hands. Go back. All praises. All praises. Yeah, this is, like I said, been saying, this is one of my favorite parshas. Like, it's so layered and there's so much that's going on in it. It really is like man, the Father, the coldest maestro there is. Like when he orchestrated and when he put his finishing touch on it, it's like, whoa. All praises. So what does Sarah's name mean, right? We saw it in the previous parshas. It literally means a mistress, that is a female noble, right? So it's not just a woman. This is a woman of, royalty, right? This is what we getting from it. A lady, a princess, a queen, right? Specifically a princess, because we're going to see that it's another word that is specifically queen, right? So keep this in mind as we continue. Genesis 24:24. And she said to him, I am the son of the daughter of Bethuel, Milcah's son, whom she bore to Nahor. Here's Milcah, means queen, right? So we know that a Melech is a king. The feminine of that, you add a hey on it, is Milcah, and that means queen, right? So now as we continue, keep this in mind as well, right? We are going to see how Rivka is going to be compared to the likes of her mother, Milcah, and she's going to be compared to Sarai, right? So now, but we're going to see, like, pay close attention to the character of each person in this story as we continue, right? So we're going to start getting introduced to the other family members, and we're going to see some interesting stuff. All praises. So Genesis 24:25, and she said to him, we have both straw and fodder enough and room to spend the night. We got both of it. Come on through. And the man bowed down his head and worshiped Yahuwah. And he said, blessed be Yahuwah Elohim of my master, Abraham, who has not forsaken his loving commitment and his truth towards my master. As for me, being on the way, Yahuwah led me to the house of my master's brothers. Then the young woman ran and informed those of her mother's house these matters. Now notice, clue, hint, verse 28. He asked her, is there room in your father's house? Okay. Now we seeing the woman ran and informed those of her mother's house on those masters. So we just got told about Milcah's name, which in the scripts is usually, it's kind of a rarity. You get the men's name a lot, but you oftentimes don't get women's names unless it's something that is like, no, pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. Pay attention to this. So just something that we're going, like I said, we're going to see, because we're getting homed in on certain clues of what's going on in the story. So first notice how the servant humbled himself and bowed to Yahuwah and worshiped him. Pay very close attention to how he responds to Rivka and the joy he shows. He's genuinely happy because he sees the hand of Elohim working. He has found something very similar to what he has come to know and love in his master Abraham. Now, we also have seen his wisdom. He also waited and showed her no emotion until he was comfortable enough to show this kind of response. He seems to be the type that knows when to hold and when to fold. He knows not to cast his pearls before swine. So keep in mind that because he was in the way, he was led to the house of his master's brethren and was shown mercy and truth. I also hope we are starting to see why Abraham wanted his son's wife to come from the house of his fathers. We see that there is this pattern of hospitality. This is the same way that we saw Abraham and Lot respond in chapters 18 and 19. So why do they make emphasis on this being the house of her mother? And how is Rebecca or Rivka related to Abraham, right? So like just something to keep in mind, because all the way up to this point, it's been focusing on Nahor. It's been focusing on, the house of Bethuel. It's been all, now we're getting a pivot, and there's a reason why we're going to get a pivot. And then we're going to, as we continue, just notice how the family dynamic is once he gets there. And you're going to see that it's some that's taken after a certain relatives, and it's some that's taken after certain relatives.
Why did they not?
Verse 28, right? You're saying why does it not say father's house? It says mother's house. And to me, I just instantly think about the characteristics like of, you have different households and some people are not always the same people. Like everybody takes, I don't know, everyone may be different in their hospitality is what I think about. Like how some of the people in the households may act differently, may think differently, may do things differently. So that's what I'm thinking about.
And I might be absolutely wrong. I'm pretty sure I am wrong, but I'm like literally thinking about it. You said, how is she related to Abraham? I'm like, okay, so because Abraham and Lot would have been Nahor's son. Nahor died, but Milcah was Nahor's wife. So Rivkah would have been like his great niece or something like that, or something would have been like Lot's great niece or something like that. Like I don't know. I could be, like I said, I could be wrong with but yeah.
So yeah, specifically, we know that there's a connection with with the men, right? Like
Yeah.
Abraham and her granddaddy.
Yeah.
They was brothers.
Yeah.
Right? We know that her granddaddy married Milcah. We've been knowing that since way back, right? And then we saw another snippet again where somebody came and said, "Hey, yo, Abraham, what was that last week?" Where he's like, "Hey, yo, Abraham, over there in, over in Milcah's house, in Nahor's house, it's children, or it's some daughters over there." So like he took it in mind, and now here we are with this. But again, knowing why it's a rarity for them to say, "Oh, in your mother's house." Like, no, it's your father's house. Like, and that's what he asked her. So why are we like, it's a clue in here that, like I said, we're gonna see as we continue, we're gonna see, oh no, when he gets back here, he gonna see that some is taken after the mama's house. Yeah, some is taken after this side. Some took after this side, but he gonna see it's a whole different ball game when he gets here. So Rivka's home. So Genesis 24:29. And Rivka had a brother whose name was Laban. And Laban ran out to the man, to the fountain. And it came to be when he saw the nose ring and the bracelets on his sister's wrist, bling, bling. And when he heard the words of his sister Rivka saying, "Thus the man spoke to me," that he went to the man and saw him standing by the camels at the fountain. And he said, "Come in, O blessed of Yahuwah. Why do you stand outside? I myself have prepared the house and a place for the camels." So the man came into the house while he unloaded the camels and provided straw and fodder for the camels and water to wash his feet. and the feet of the men who were with him, and set food before him to eat. But he said, let me not eat until I have spoken my word. And he said, speak on. So now, does the situation sound familiar? If so, how and how not? Right? Like this sounds very similar to Abraham. Hey, no, my masters, don't go any further. It sounds like it on the surface. I prepared it sound like Lot at the gate. No, don't go down. Come to my crib and we gonna prepare the so and so. It sounds like that on the surface. But what's really going on here? Is he really about that life?
The house myself.
Oh,
bless me.
Yeah, and we could just look at Laban's character later on in the scripture. It's about clearly, how we could just see like just how he operated and what his focus was and how he dealt with situations. So yeah. And the meaning of his name too. No, I wasn't saying that.
And I'm gonna leave that. That's a can of words that won't even get opened. All praises. All praises. All praises. So notice the nature of Laban's hospitality is a little bit different from that shown of Abraham's house and that of his sister Rivka. When he saw how she came back with the riches, he is motivated to be a friend to the man. We are seeing that he might not otherwise have been willing to do so without seeing this first, whereas his sister did all that she did out of the genuine kindness of her heart without incentive. She only received the gifts after she served. Or in other words, the reward was not what motivated her actions. Major key of a worthy bride, right? Let's just say the bridegroom ain't looking for a gold digger. Notice the wisdom of the servant. He picks up on this right away. His whole energy has changed towards Laban. He realizes that there is something different about Laban than what he is used to. So Proverbs 19:4, wealth adds many friends, but the poor is separated from his friend. Jumping down to verse 6, many entreat the favor of the noble, and all are friends to him who gives gifts. All the brothers of the poor shall hate him. How much more shall his friends go far from him? He pursues promises, they are gone. So just something, keep in mind about Laban's character, right?
And that in and of itself just kind of speaks to that difference to what you were talking about. Some being referred to as from the father's house, and some being referred to after the mother's house, because there's a reason that the father is not living anymore.
All praises. So Sirach 6:7, if you would get a friend, prove him first, and be not hasty to credit him. For some man is a friend for his own occasion, and will not abide in the day of thy trouble. And there is a friend who, being turned to enmity and strife, will discover thy reproach. Again, some friend is a companion at the table, and will not continue in the day of thy affliction, but in thy prosperity he will be as thyself, and will be bold over thy servants. If you be brought low, he will be against thee, and will hide himself from thy face. So just keep all of this in mind as we're getting a glimpse of another type of character that dwells in the house of Terah. Not only was there great hospitality, but there is also something else that lurks in the bloodline. We will see how this will manifest when we see Laban again later in the future. For those of us that know the story, we will see his opportunistic ways on full display. When he feels he can no longer take advantage of his future nephew, we are informed that his countenance changed towards him, right? All praises. So Genesis 24:34, and he said, I am Abraham's servant. And Yahuwah has blessed my master exceedingly and has become great. And he has given him flocks and herds, and silver and gold, and male and female servants, and camels and donkeys. And Sarah, my master's wife, bore a son to my master when she was old, and he has given to him all that he has. So we see here that the servant opens the statement with the members of her house with a very different tone than he did when he first met Rivka, right? Whole story didn't change. The whole tune didn't change. Before it was he in tears and he great praise Yahuwah because he done, because he already identified this is a type of ruach that I'm dealing with, one that values such things. But now, after I see this and I see Playboy, now you keep eyeing that gold and you keep on asking me about what hold on now, wait a minute now. I can sense and I can tell you a little thirsty.
Eleazar is not a spring chicken. Eleazar likely remembers Nahor as well. So he is like
Privy to certain.
no, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Well, you're in it.
Yeah, I done seen that before.
But okay, I see. So he another reason why I was like, no, you know what we dealing with over there. I'm trusting you.
He can't
carry me on in this.
He can't go back over. Don't know whatever you do. He can't go back. He gonna liable to get over there, get caught up, and now he over here a fool just like them.
They're gonna do everything on the
So in this moment, he is being directed by wisdom. His only focus at the moment is bringing her back to Isaac and fulfilling his mission. This time, he leads with telling them about the riches, knowing that this is what appeals to them. If we recall his approach with Rivka, it was very different. He led with silence and only revealed the riches afterwards. With her, he saw character and hospitality that went beyond what she could have perceived he would offer. So do we think that the Ruach could possibly test the hearts of men and present itself to them in the same way? Right? So now, if you would only got your eyes on the gift, then perhaps the Ruach might lead and flash you a gift. Get your reward now in full. Oh, this is what you want. Oh, this why you want it? Yeah, okay. Yeah, absolutely. Eat to the full. Yeah. In other words, have we considered that the Ruach will test whether or not we are a worthy bride suitable for the bridegroom by similar tests? This is something to keep in mind during times of both plenty and scarcity. Remember, there is one that is loyal in plenty, but melts like wax in scarcity. These are those that are only there because there is a perceived benefit, but it otherwise is not in their character. So could it be that you will be dealt with according to how you present yourself? Right? All praises. All praises.
Steve, because like the scriptures say, the Father will speak to his people with stammering lips on the back end. And oftentimes his servants have character flaws. And in filling out the nature of people, sometimes he allows them to hang out to see how they're dealt with, to really try the heart of people. And yeah, absolutely, we're gonna get what we work for.
Yeah. Absolutely. All praises. So Genesis 24:37. And my master made me swear, saying, do not take a wife for my son from the daughters of the Canaanites in whose land I dwell, but go to my father's house and to my relatives and take a wife for my son. And I said to my master, what if the woman does not follow me? But he said to me, Yahuwah, before whom I walk, sends his messenger with you and shall prosper your way. And you shall take a wife for my son from my relatives and from my father's house. Then when you go to my relatives, you are to be released from this oath. And if they do not give her to you, then you are released from my oath. So if the bride ain't willing to follow, you released. And this day I came to the fountain and said, Yahuwah my Elohim, the Yahuwah Elohim of my master Abraham, please, if you are prospering in the way which I am going, see, I am standing by the fountain of water. And when the young woman comes out to draw water, and I say to her, please give me a little water from your jar to drink. And she says to me, drink and let me draw for your camels too. Let her be the woman whom Yahuwah has appointed for my master's son. I had not yet ended speaking in my heart. Then see, Rivkah was coming out with her jar on her shoulder, and she went down to the fountain and drew water. And I said to her, please let me drink. And she hurried and let her jar down from her shoulder and said, drink and let me water your camels too. So I drank, and she watered the camels too. And I asked her and said, whose daughter are you? And she said, the daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bore to him. Then I put the nose ring on her nose and the bracelets on her wrist. And I bowed my head and worshiped Yahuwah and blessed Yahuwah, Elohim of my master Abraham, who had led me in the true way to take the daughter of my master's brother for his son. So this is the truth, and this is the true way. But will you comply or not? We're going to see. And now, if you are going to show loving commitment and truth to my master, let me know. And if not, let me know so that I turn to the right or to the left. And Laban answered Bethuel too and said, the matter comes from Yahuwah. We are not able to speak to you either evil or told, right? If this is what he said, I mean, it is what it is. Who can stand against it, right? So notice here how the servant is telling them the story. Before, he was a friend. But after seeing her household, he is now strictly business and skipping past the formalities. Remember, they are having this conversation before he is even eaten or rested. Said, before I eat, before I get comfortable in this place, let me lay this business out so I see what I'm dealing with. I know how to move one way or the other because I'm sensing there's some sleight of hand in this joint if I let it be, right? Plenty of wisdom in this servant in Eliezer. He ain't no, like you said, spring chicken. He ain't green. Like he not new to this. He true to this. Remember, they are having this conversation before he is even eaten or rested. He got straight to business when he got there because he sees the type of people he is dealing with. Notice what he says in verse 49, right? I can't quite gauge which way you're going to play this. So let me know. Stay straight up with me. You going to go this way or that way?
Because tying it back to the story in the other texts, there's something about Terah's house that he's privy to, why Abraham even had to leave. And that's making me think, okay, no, you are making sure to attribute this to Elohai Yahuwah. You are making certain to attribute this to whom it belongs to. You're doing it in front of Rivkah. You definitely doing it in front of Laban and Bethuel. Because, like I said, considering how Abraham and Eliezer, even if we remember the story, how they even became, he's like, no, there's some common thread, something in the bloodline of Nahor and Terah's home, lineage and whatnot. So, yeah, it just makes me think even more like, yeah, that is significant how he's playing it with them. Like, okay, now you know who's dealing with this. And it's the same one now that it was back then. Quit playing.
Yep, you see, he left, right? You see, now I'm coming back. Y'all hearing, he done came up, right? He held his end of the deal. So what it is, right? Like all praises. So it seems as though he has identified that they may be keen to trickery and a little bit of sleight of hand. Whenever a detail isn't quite laid out specifically to the letter, you may get tricked. We will see later that this is exactly what Ruach Laban operates in. And if you allow him, he will take full advantage of you and trick you out of your own position. Any edge you give him, any base you don't cover, he will exploit to your harm if you let him. With this, he is dealing in wisdom and getting all of the facts laid out on the table and giving them the choice. If you want to deal in truth, that's fine. If you want to deal in falsehood, that's fine. Just let me know how you want to play it so I can move accordingly. It's basically what he's saying. You ain't got a lot to kick it. Just let me know what's up. Right?
Think even further because like he's absolutely an opportunistic kind of a person. And that's the same kind of characteristic that was found in Abraham's deceased brother. An opportunistic kind of a person. And because his heart was not perfect towards the Elohim, his fathers, was why he was deceased. And so that same mentality, no, I'm opportunistic, whichever one is going to be beneficial toward me, because that's literally what it said in the other, whichever way. If I'm going here with him, but if I'm going to go with him. But if he don't, then hey, what I'm doing might not be, no, we see that same thing playing out in his grandchild now. And his no, whichever one is what it is. No, the same Elohim had been with Abraham from way back in the day who he was with. The same one that brought me here to y'all this day, and the same one that answered even my prayer. So not only is he with my master, he with me too.
All praises. All praises. All praises. All praises. All praises. All praises. So verse 51, see, Rivka is before you. Take her and go, and let her be your master's son's wife, as Yahuwah has spoken. And it came to be, when Abraham's servant heard their words, that he bowed himself towards the earth before Yahuwah. Now, I can take that deep breath, right? And the servant brought out ornaments of silver and ornaments of gold and garments and gave them to Rivka. He also gave costly gifts to her brother and to her mother. So to the brother and the mother. Now notice that her Bethuel he's there as well. He's almost invisible in this. So notice they said that what? Mother's house. Like this is, that you looking and you seeing all of what's going on, and it's like, oh, so this side that Laban has, him and Milcah, they on the same wavelength. This where this comes from. This where he's learning. And then notice again who Milcah is attached to, and it's like, oh yeah, it makes perfect sense. All of it is all, the story is all starting to make sense. Well, why this house is moving, how it's moving over here. So yeah, all praises. So it says, and he and the men who were with him ate and drank and spent the night. And when they arose in the morning, he said, let me go to my master. Now, we are seeing him take a position of ease just a little bit now that he knows the mission has, been a success. But he still got in his mind, I'm not about to tarry around here though. Right? Like, yeah, but in the morning, I'm out. Right? Genesis 24:55. But her brother and her mother said, these two again, let the young woman stay with us a few days, at least 10, then you go. And he said to them, do not delay me, since Yahuwah has prospered my way. Let me go so that I go to my master. And they said, let us call the young woman and ask her. Now, why would you do that? We banking on, oh, she young, and we gonna play on her emotions. So then, yeah, stick around a little bit, right? This is what they ace in the hole is. Like, I truly believe that all of this, stick around 10 days so that way, in these 10 days, perhaps we can squeeze a little bit more out of you. I mean, you stick around and then now all of a sudden, meanwhile, we telling her, I mean, I don't know. Are you sure this is a good idea? You sure you want to? Now they can come back and say, so yeah, we were thinking, we don't know. I mean, is there anything else you can offer? I mean, how do we know for sure that you didn't just give her everything your master has? How did we've already seen Laban's character. You give that man an inch, oh, he gonna run a mile. Oh, he gonna extort every penny out of you. Oh, I'm just supposed to be working 7 years. 7 turned into 21 real quick. Like character, right? But we gonna see I'm getting ahead. He didn't approach his nephew that way. Now it was bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. Come on in here, boy. Yeah, it was all of that. That ain't how it started. But yeah, you let him get his talons into you. Let him get his fangs in you. So it appears he is not quite out. Like he's not quite out of the fire yet. Note that it is important for him not to tarry. Consider how many times we have seen this go wrong, the old and young prophet. By tarrying, all sorts of things could change between now and the end of 10 days. And I think they are aware of this. Again, we will see the same tactics used again later by Laban. No, don't leave yet. Don't leave now. Stick around and I'm gonna make sure. I'll make sure. Matter of fact, I got this. You take this and you handle this way, and for every one of them, you take that. We all can come up, right? But soon as he see that it ain't going the way he thought, because he assuming he ain't gonna get nothing, right? Now all of a sudden my countenance should change. He coming up more than I supposed to be using and abusing him, right? So you see how his character is. If there is any way for them to kindly extort, they seem to be the ones to take advantage of it, knowing what we know. After 10 days, she could change her mind and they may need a little bit more to convince her to go, right? We got to convince her to go, right? She don't want to go. We don't know why she don't want to go. But maybe I can convince her if you XYZ, right? Like now that part is my imagination. But judging on his character and what we know about him, it's not too far off center. So verse 58. So they called Rivkah and said to her, are you going with this man? He just this man. Are you going with this man? And she said, I shall go. So they let Rivkah, their sister, and her go Rivkah and their sister and her nurse, and Abraham's servant and his men. And they blessed Rivkah and said to her, let our sister become the mother of thousands, of 10,000s, and let your seed possess the gates of those who hate them. And Rivkah and her young women arose, and they rode on the camels and followed the man. So the servant took Rivkah and left. So the helper took the bride, and now he's taking her, leading her right on back to the bridegroom in the son's father's house. And Isaac, Yitzchak, came from the way of Beer Lahai Roy, for he dwelt in the south. So notice that she was willing to leave just as Abraham and Sarah were. This is also a test for those that would be joined to Mashiach. Luke 14:25, and large crowds were going with him and turning, and he said to them, if anyone comes to me and does not hate his father and mother and wife and children and brothers and sisters and his own life too, he is unable to be my taught one. And whoever does not bear his stake and come after me is unable to be my taught one. Right? For this reason, a man shall leave the house of his mother and his father. They cleave to one another and they become one flesh. Right? In this case, he's inheriting the house of his father because Abraham is about to be no more. Another reason also to keep in mind why the servant is probably in a rush. I got to hurry up and get back. We don't know how much time he got left. Yeah, true. All praises. So 24:63, and Isaac went out to meditate in the field in the evening. I didn't put it in this lesson, but just something to look at when we look at this word for meditate, suach, what it is that he in some deep communion. He in some deep trying to figure and trying to get a grasp and understand where he is in life right now. Because now at this point in time, mom's is gone. I'm all out of sorts. Pop's on his way. I'm all out of sorts. I'm just trying to figure it out. He out in the field trying to figure it out, right? And Isaac went out to meditate in the field in the evening, and he lifted his eyes and looked and saw camels coming. And Rivkah lifted her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she dismounted from her camel, and she had said to the servant, "Who is this man walking in the field to meet us?" And the servant said, "It is my master." So she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the matters he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent. And he took Rivkah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. Thus Isaac was comforted after his mother's death. So notice that she is walking in the life of Sarah now, right? We seeing it come full circle. And Sarah is living on in his heart, even after her passing. Also, just to say, there's some other things going on here symbolically, just to keep in mind. You got a veil and something about the veil and his tent, and the bridegroom bringing her into this tent, and just some things to think about. And just, I wonder if that could paint any parallels to the tabernacle or the temple or anything like that. And we'll leave that there. All praises. So Haftarah connections, we are moving on through. So 1 Kings 1:1. This was the Haftarah portion. And King David was old, advanced in years, and they covered him with garments, but he could not get warm. So a servant said to him, "Let them seek for our master, the king, the sovereign, a young woman, a maiden, and she shall stand before the sovereign and be his companion, and shall lie in your bosom, so that our master, the sovereign, gets warm." And they sought for a beautiful young woman in all the border of Israel, and found Abishag, the Shunammite, and brought her to the sovereign. And the young woman was very beautiful, and she was a companion to the sovereign, and served him, but the sovereign, the king, did not know her. So here, just as in our parsha, we see that there's a father who is the master or king, one who is old or ancient in his days. Major key. We see that there is also a young woman, a beautiful young woman. Notice the parallels again between Abraham and Rivkah so far in this story. Again, by connecting the dots, we will get just a little bit more understanding about what's going on spiritually. Now, we see that the king did not know her, but that she serves him and is a companion for him. Her relationship can be likened to a daughter with her elderly father. We also see again the role of the servants choosing the young woman, right? So the servants choosing this young woman, they bring her, but the father got enough sense enough to not lay with the young girl. He don't know that's not what this is. But perhaps we're gonna see later on, because she's gonna come up again, who she might be suitable for, and somebody else trying to usurp it. So H5532, this is our word for companion, to be familiar with, by implication to minister to, be serviceable to be customary, acquaint self, to be advantage to, right? Like this is what, it's not nothing freaky going on, as they say, right? Like, no, this is a genuine relationship of, no, she's assisting. Hey, Mr. Song, King, you need anything, XYZ, right?
Like home health care or something like that.
Exactly. So All praises. And Adonijah, or Adoniyahu, son of Haggith, exalted himself, saying, I reign. And he prepared for himself a chariot. Oh, all of this is, so far in the story, we've been seeing the servants for the after the heart of the king. We've been seeing the sons after the heart of the king. We've been seeing, like, everybody is doing the Father's will. Except now we got this new character, right? And he a son, but he an illegitimate one. He ain't no real son because he ain't doing son-like things, right? And a horseman and 50 men to run before him. Now his father had not worried him at any time by saying, why have you done so? He was also very Tob looking, and he was born after Absalom. And he talked with Joab, son of Seruyahu, and Abiathar the priest, and they supported Adoniyahu. But Zadok the priest and Benayahu, son of Jehoiada, and Nathan the prophet, and Shimei and Rai, and the mighty men who belonged to David were not with Adoniyahu. So here we see that there is a rebellious son, one that is not in submission to the father, but that has a will of his own. He will exalt himself for rulership. And considering that his father has not put a stop to him yet, he continues to further his usurping of the kingdom, or so he thinks. In his heart, is his heart to do the will of his father and to uplift his father's house, or does he want to do his own thing? Since we are identifying character types, who could this be likened to prophetically? All right. So notice that the priest, the prophet, and the men that were loyal to the father, the true king, did not approve of this. Notice but there were some, or there was a portion of his father's house who was willing to go for it. Notice what he will try to do next and why he wants to do this. Hopefully we will see a parallel to what is going on spiritually for us today. Now, we also know that there was a third that was cast out with someone, and that there's something that they do in pursuing a bride, because it's just the whole thing, what we see, and just leave it there. So 1 Kings 1:9, and Adoniah, who slaughtered sheep and cattle and fatlings by the stone of Zoheleth, which is by En Rogel. He also invited all of his brothers, the sovereign sons, the king's sons. He got his own crew. And all the men of Yehuda, servants of the king. But he did not invite Nathan the prophet, Benayahu, or the mighty men, or Solomon his brother. Nathan then spoke to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, saying, have you not heard that Adoniyahu, son of Haggith, has become sovereign, and David our master does not know it? And now, come, let me give you advice. Again, we keep saying the role of these priests as advisors, and they're gonna make sure that the Father's will gets carried out. And deliver your own life and the life of your son Solomon. Go immediately to King David and say to him, did you not, my master, O king, swear to your female servant, saying, certainly your son Solomon shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? Why then has Adoniyahu become sovereign? Look, while you are still speaking there with the king, with the sovereign, let me come in after you and confirm your words. And Bathsheba went into the room to the sovereign. Now the sovereign was very old, again like Abraham, again like an Ancient of Days. And Abishag the Shunammite was serving the sovereign. And Bathsheba bowed and did obeisance to the king, or to the sovereign. And the sovereign said, what do you wish? And she said to him, my master, you swore by Yahuwah your Elohim, your female servant, saying, certainly Solomon your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne. So I'm wondering if we've seen this play out before already in previous Torah portions. Ironically, we will continue to see this play out in future Partial as well. This would seem to be a cycle that the Father wants us to pay attention to. We already have seen a similar situation with Sarah and Hagar and Ishmael and Isaac. And no, that son ain't the one. He's not. And now look, Adoniyahu has become sovereign. And now my master, the sovereign, you do not know about it. And he has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the sons of the king, and Abiathar, the priest, and Joab, the commander of the army, but he did not invite Solomon, your servant. And you, my master, O sovereign, the eyes of all Israel are on you to declare to them who is going to sit on the throne of my master, the sovereign, after him. Otherwise, it shall be when my master, the sovereign, rests with his fathers, that I and my son Solomon shall be considered sinners. And see, while she was still speaking with the sovereign, Nathan the prophet also came in. So they informed the sovereign, saying, here is Nathan the prophet. And when he came in before the sovereign, he bowed down before the sovereign with his face to the ground. And Nathan said, my master, O sovereign, have you said, Adoniah, who shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne? For he has gone down today and has slaughtered great numbers of bulls and fatlings and sheep, and has invited all the king's sons, and the commanders of the army, and Abiathar the priest. And look, they are eating and drinking before him. Something about that eating and drinking. And they say, let sovereign Adoniah live. But he has not invited me, your servant, nor Zadok the priest, nor Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, nor your servant Solomon. If this matter is from the master, the sovereign, then you did not let your servant know who should sit on the throne of my master, the sovereign, after him. And sovereign Dawid answered and said, call Bathsheba to me. And she came to the king's presence and stood before the king. And the king took an oath and said, as Yahuwah lives, who has ransomed my life out of all distress, even as I swore to you by Yahuwah Elohim of Israel, saying, certainly Solomon your son shall reign after me, and he shall sit on my throne in my place. Even so I do this day. And Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth and did obeisance to the king and said, let my master, King David, live forever. So something about even in his death, he gonna live forever. And we gonna see this through the generations to come, through his seed and his lineage. So now we see this played out. But there is one additional thing I'd like to point out. Notice what Adoniyahu's next move was, right? 1 Kings 1:48. And King David, and the king, now this is talking about Solomon, also said thus, blessed be Elohim of Israel, who has given one to sit on my throne this day while my eyes see it. I'm sorry, no, this is still David. And all the guests who were invited by Adoniah who were afraid and rose, and each one went his way. And Adoniah who was afraid of Solomon and rose and went and took hold of the horns of the altar. And it was reported to Solomon saying, look, Adoniah who is afraid of King Solomon. And look, he has taken hold of the horns of the altar, saying, let King Solomon swear to me today that he does not put his servant to death with the sword. And Solomon said, if he proves himself a worthy man, not one hair of him is going to fall to the earth. But if evil is found in him, then he shall die. And King Solomon sent, and they brought him down from the altar. And he came and fell down before King Solomon. And Solomon said to him, go to your house.
Just by what happened, good and well. He knew what he was doing when he did it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, why wouldn't he have invited all the rest of his brothers?
Mm-hmm.
Why wouldn't he invite the one who was supposed to be?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And everybody that's really, really like that with his daddy. We already done seen your ad.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes he do what's right by the king, and sometimes he don't.
Opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
Self-serving.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm gonna take this out on, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
But nah, good and well, Adonijah knew what he was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Adonai, and this is jumping to chapter 2, verse 13, right? So we see Solomon just gave him some mercy because he could have killed you right then, right? But nah, I'm gonna let you do what you got to do. If he do us right, he'll be all right. But if he don't, and if he will be found in him, he gonna reap that. Go on back to your house, bro. So jumping down to 1 Kings 2:13, and Adonijah, the son of Haggith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon. How bold! And she said, "Do you come in peace?" And he said, "Peace, shalom." And he said, "I have a word for you." And she said, "Speak." And he said, "You know that the kingdom was mine, and all Israel has set their faces towards me, that I should reign. But the kingdom has been turned around and has become my brother's, for it was his from Yahuwah. And now I am making one request of you. Do not refuse me." And she said to him, "Say it." I'm just gonna play in your emotions just a little bit, right? I mean, you feel bad. You seen I ain't got nothing. What's left for me? Right? And she said it, and she said to him, "Say it." And he said, "Please speak to King Solomon." Just like the serpent. For he would not refuse you to give me Abishag the Shunammite as wife. So now, why would he desire this, and what would be the result of this decision? Verse 21. Then she said, "Let Abishag the Shunammite be given to Adonijah, your brother, as wife." And King Solomon answered and said to his mother, "Now, why do you ask Abishag the Shunammite for Adonijah?" Now, why would I do that? Why would I do that?
While he was reigning.
Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is my older brother. For him and for Abiathar the priest and for Joab the son of Zeruiah. And King Solomon swore by Yahuwah, saying, "Elohim does so to me, and more also, if Adonijah has not spoken this word against his own life. And now, as Yahuwah lives, who established me and set me on the throne of David my father, and who has made me a house, as he promised, Adonijah shall be put to death today." And the sovereign Solomon sent by the hand of Benaiah, the son of Jehoiada, and he fell upon him and he died. So see how significant Abishag really is, the grand scope of this young woman, this woman who tended to, from a national standpoint, this woman is as close to the king as can be. Also on one side, I'm sure there's rumors in the kingdom. And he ain't laying next, kingdom. He ain't laying next to her, and he ain't. I'm just saying. So what is this? What is actually, if now this woman is in the hands of one of the other sons, and it's not Solomon especially, you done took everything, the closest thing of the father's house. This is many of things that a man will share, and a woman ain't one of them. So hold on, wait a minute. Like, wait a second. So
Because for all intents and purposes, it could have been going, like you said, going around the kingdom. Oh, he got another wife. He got another woman.
And just keep this bit of information, because in the future Torah portion, it's gonna come up again. So we're gonna see where it's gonna be. Now, why would you do that? And we're gonna see, oh no, there's a reason why he's doing that, and we're gonna be able to connect all the dots. We're like, oh no, there's a reason. This wasn't just a haphazard thing. Yeah, you wanted it, but it wasn't just haphazard though. It's a little bit deeper with what claim and what stake he's trying to, like, yeah, she's a beautiful woman, but he can have it. They also say he's a Tobe looking man and he's royalty. He got pick of the litter when it comes to women in the kingdom. Why is this one the one that he like, no, I want this one and do this for me? Because he understands full well what Solomon said. Well, I mean, if I do that, then he may as well have a kingdom too. So something about this woman is special enough that depending on whose hands she's in, oh, the kingdom, this one got the kingdom. Ain't no kingdom now. He got it. So next slide. So hopefully we can see what is going on here. There is one that is illegitimate that desires to have the young bride for himself, because there is something about having her that will put the kingdom in his hands versus in the hands of his father and the son that his father designated. So just notice again how Hashatan works amongst the assembly, and how it's like, why are you paying attention to us? You got a whole world of people that ain't trying to even follow the Father that can be yours. Why do you persecute the woman? Why do you follow after the woman? Because it's something about, well, if I can just conquer this, kingdom is mine, right? I done stripped what the son did everything for. Oh no, he ain't got it now because it's in my hands. The whole plan blows up. If he can't get the son directly, next play is go after his Isha. Same thing what we've been seeing since the garden. If I can't bind the man, well, okay. I can't just come at he'll go upside my head if I come at him like this. Let me see if there's a way I can circumvent and let me get the Isha and then get her to deal with. That's how I handle it. Yeah. That's what the plan is, because he already identified. I can't go on the up and up, right? Solomon is not invited there, right? And all these strong men, no, he was scared of him. Like, he's scared of, we already have seen earlier in the books how Benyahu get down. He ain't no scrub at all. So he already know, yeah, we can. Joab, you gonna hold me down? Because, yeah, but they ain't nothing to be played with. So they don't even invite them. They can't be here. Yeah, I'm doing this, but don't let them know about it until it's already done, and then there won't be nothing else they can do. We don't get them that way.
Don't look like we're going along with it.
All praises. So Matthew 25:1, starting at verse 1, it says, then the kingdom of the heavens shall be compared to 10 maidens who took their lamps and went out to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise and 5 foolish. Those who were foolish, having taken their lamps, took no oil with them, but the wise took oil and all their containers with their lamps. Now, while the bridegroom took time, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight, a cry was heard. Again, Hebrew marriage custom, a little bit of history on ancient Hebraic custom. Ish would go away, and when he comes back, there would be someone who would be like a servant to him, or someone that would be traveling with him that would yell out in the streets, he's here. Yeah, he's arrived. The time is now. And they would try to catch the bride by surprise. And so this is all like custom talk of how they would operate. And so, yeah. And at midnight, also just keep it in mind, behold, before he comes, there's trumpets and there's a messenger in the way that's announcing seeing it all, like all of this is all marriage custom. Like it's all marriage custom. But yeah, and at midnight a cry was heard. See, the bridegroom is coming. Go out to meet him. Then all those maidens rose up and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, give us of your oil, because our lamps are going out. But the wise answered, saying, no, indeed, there will not be enough for us and you. Instead, go to those who sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and those who were ready went in with him to the wedding feast, and the door was shut. And later, the other maidens also came, saying, Master, Master, open up for us. Now notice, who's the door? The door is shut. Who's guarding the door? Before you go out, mark those who are sealed. Whoever ain't got the ruach on them, and it's bad business for you. When you ain't been marked, you know what to tell you. And later, the other maidens also came, saying, Master, Master, open up for us. But he answering said, truly, I say to you, I do not know you. Watch therefore, because you do not know the day nor the hour in which the Son of Adam is coming. Again, he keeps saying this. Keep saying this to the bride. Revelation 19:6. And I heard as the voice of a great crowd, as the sound of many waters and the sound of mighty thunders, saying, Hallelujah, for Yahuwah El Shaddai reigns. Let us be glad and rejoice and give him praise, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife prepared herself. And to her it was given to be dressed in fine linen, clean and bright, for the fine linen is the righteousness of the set apart ones. And he said to me, right, blessed are those who have been called to the marriage supper of the Lamb. Again, that calling out. And he said to me, these are the true words of Elohim. And I fell at his feet to worship him. But he said to me, see, do not do it. I am your fellow servant and of your brothers who possess the witness of Yahusha. Worship Elohim, for the witness of Yahusha is the spirit of prophecy. 2 Corinthians 11:1. I wish that you would bear with me in a little folly, but indeed you are bearing with me. For I am jealous for you with a jealousy according to Elohim. For I gave you in marriage to one husband to present you as an innocent maiden to Mashiach. Can't make it no clearer than that, what the bride is. But I am afraid lest, as the serpent deceived Hawa by his trickery, so your mind should be corrupted by the simplicity that is in Mashiach. For indeed, if he who is coming proclaims another Yahusha, whom we have not proclaimed, or if you receive a different spirit, which you have not received, or a different Basora Tov news, which you have not accepted, you put up with it well enough. So hopefully we are able to see how studying these Torah portions thematically shows us a great deal of wisdom prophetically. Looking at it, we were able to determine how the house of Elohim operates and functions. We saw how the Ruach works. We saw what qualifies the bride. We saw the son's position. We saw that there was one trying to take the bride for himself, but ultimately his own folly will be his demise, even after he has been shown mercy. We saw how the Ruach prepares the bride for the bridegroom's return, and how all parties, the father, the son, the helper, and the bride, must all be on one accord, as the Father has planned for the building and continuance of his house. If we master understanding this in our position in the house, then there is a life of eternity in the house of the King. In essence, this is Kaye Sarah, where we see that in her death, we see life everlasting. If we become such a bride, we will obtain the same reward. Rise Israel. All praises. And then we got 2 more slides and we out of here. In closing, Genesis 25, 1 through 18. This is going to wrap up this parsha. And Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah, and she bore him Zimran and Yakshan and Medan and Midian and Yishbak and Shua and Yakshan brought forth Sheba and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Asherim and Letushim and Leumim. And the sons of Midian were Ephah and Epher and Hanok and Abida and Elda'ah. All these were the children of Keturah. Now Abraham gave all that he had to Isaac, but to the sons of the concubines whom Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts while he was still living, and sent them away from his son Isaac eastward to the land of the east. And these are all the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 175 years. And Abraham breathed his last and died in good old age, aged and satisfied, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, which is before Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite. And it came to be, after the death of Abraham, that Elohim blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt at Beer Lahai Roy. So, now Elohim is with Isaac. And this is the genealogy of Ishmael, Abraham's son, from Hagar, the Egyptian, Sarah's female servant, bore to Abraham. And these were the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebaioth, then Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Duma, and Masa, Hadar, and Tema, Yatur, Naphish, and Kedemah. These were the sons of Yishmael, and these were their names by their towns and their settlements, 12 chiefs according to their tribes. And these were the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years, and he breathed his last and died, and was gathered to his people. And they dwelt from Havilah as far as Shur, which is east of Mizraim or Egypt. As you go towards Ashur, he settled before all his brothers. All right, so we close in the chapter of Abraham, and now we're going to move into Isaac. Greek Kadashah connections, just something for us to think about, since this is New Testament, renewed covenant. 1 Corinthians 15:50. And I say I say, brothers, that flesh and blood is unable to inherit the kingdom of Elohim, neither does corruption inherit incorruption. See, I speak a secret to you. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible has to put on incorruption, and this mortal to put on immortality. And when this corruptible has put on incorruption, and this mortal has put on immortality, then shall come to be the word that has been written. Death is swallowed up in overcoming. O death, where is your sting? O Sheol, where is your overcoming? And the sting of death is the sin, and the power of the sin is the Torah. But thanks to Elohim, who gives us the overcoming through our master, Yahushua Mashiach. Therefore, my beloved brothers, be steadfast, immovable, always excelling in the work of the master, knowing that your labor is not in vain in the master. And with that being said, that's the portion. All praises. All praises.
All praises. Definitely quite a bit to chew on in there.
All praises.
Yeah, all praises.
All praises to the king.
That's all we say is all praise, because that's meat. That's tov meat for the rising of Israel, like you said, looking at the patterns from the Torah
Mhm.
to the writings
Mhm.
and the chronicles and all the records to the Brit Hadashah, and just making those connections. All praises to the Most High, just seeing how the patterns play out and seeing what we're supposed to be embodying,
Mhm.
what we're supposed to be shunning or
Mhm.
watching out for,
Mhm.
and what we're supposed to be clinging to.
Mhm.
you know it's definitely all praises to the Most High. It's definitely for the perfecting of the saints, definitely for the working of of our toe, for the work for the toe of all those who are called to be his, teaching his bride. And that's something that the Father had given us previously, teaching the bride how to fight.
Mhm.
When we figure out, okay, what is the bride fighting for? Now we're fighting to be on one accord with the
Mhm.
Spirit, with the Father,
Mhm.
with the Son, whom
Mhm.
is our bridegroom. We're fighting to be on one accord so that all of those together can form the house. That is what forms the house.
Mhm.
All praises unto the Most High. There ain't nothing else to say. Chew on it. We got chew on it.
All praises.
So yeah, if that's it, I'm gonna go ahead and cut this off and so that we can go back